All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I apologize. The meeting notification came out last minute. Um, it's been a whirlwind summer with Zelica retiring, and so it was good to see so many of you at Zelica's retirement party. So please bear with me and offer me some grace as we transition the Housing Trust Fund program. It's a great program. I think that we have a great future, and you all are a big part of that. So I appreciate all of the warm wishes that Zelica received and I received, and yeah, it's been an exciting time, and I don't know about you. I will miss Zelica being at the helm of this, but we have some great new talent that I'm getting ready to introduce you to. Um, so just housekeeping. On the line, I have Kate Caton in my office. She's helping with technical stuff this morning. Her email is catherine.caton@charlottennc.gov. You can also message her if your messaging is working on here. If you have anything technical that you need help with, she will try to help you. We are also recording this entire webinar, and we will have it formatted and I hopefully posted no later than tomorrow back out where the application is. I will be taking questions and hopefully providing answers at the end of this. We have video turned off for the participants just to have a cleaner webinar experience, but audio and chat both work. We're just going to keep you muted until the end of the presentation. If you can hold your questions till the end of the presentation, that will just allow us to have, again, a cleaner webinar experience for people who view it once we post it. So if you have a question and you don't want to forget it, go ahead and enter it into the chat while I'm talking, and Kate's going to help me take care of those. So our agenda for tomorrow, for this morning, is just some brief introductions. We're going to talk about the process for applying for housing development funds and the schedule. Then we're going to go into the funds that are available, the eligible activities, and go over some of the items that have changed. Some of that is holdovers from last RFP, and there's a couple of new things in this RFP. That all should be short, and we should have plenty of time for questions at the end of the presentation. So let's just go ahead and get started. So background, the trust fund has been operating in Charlotte for 20 years. In 2021, we celebrated our 20-year anniversary with funding over 11,000 units. So again, I see lots of longtime partners on the call this morning, and just want you to know that the city staff and the elected officials recognize that we couldn't do any of this without your partnership. So we really appreciate you partnering with us to develop affordable housing for this community. All of our activity around housing is based on a framework that was passed by Council in 2018 that includes creating new affordable housing, preserving existing affordable housing, and working with families to create self-sufficiency. So you'll see that those guiding principles are all throughout the work that we do and this RFP. So this process hasn't changed. I'm going to go through it quickly because a lot of you know it better than I do. But our process for providing gap financing for affordable housing development starts with the issue of the RFP that was done a week ago. The next thing that will happen, and this is something that you don't see, but once the application period closes, we send a notification to council of what we've received. The staff then reviews it, and then we send a summary that council receives shortly before the first action review. The council will then review and ask questions about the proposals and staff recommendations at the action review. And then typically at the following business meeting, they will vote to approve the funding that they choose to approve. Once that approval takes place, we will go through an investment review and assign work out to our council, and then work with your council and our council to close that. And then finally, we will monitor the construction of the process through CO, and then your project is transferred over to our asset management department for ongoing monitoring of the affordability requirements. Here's the schedule for this RFP. This is basically a cut and paste directly from the RFP document. Gotten a lot of comments that this was a very quick turnaround on this one, and I do recognize that it is, and I apologize for that. Due to the workload going on in planning right now, and especially with the updates to the UDO, they asked for additional time to review projects, so that is largely related to this schedule. So we can talk about that, and if you have questions about that. I've received a lot of questions via email related to schedule and when we have to have things done. So we've transitioned the name of this from the Housing Trust Fund to Housing Development Funding, because the Housing Trust Fund is just one funding source that we are attempting to use to leverage to create affordable housing in the community. However, it is the largest source of funds. And as I stated earlier, it was established in 2001. We've got a little bit more than $260 million of investments out on the street, and we're over 12,000 units. I stated that wrong earlier, but at this point we're over 12,000 units in shelter beds that we've created in the last 20 plus years. In this RFP, what you can apply for from in RFPs changes from RFP to RFP. We are hoping to have a winter round, but in that winter round, we're anticipating that only 9% tax credit projects will be eligible for gap funding. This is a much wider RFP, so you can apply for multifamily new construction or renovation, single family new construction, and supportive housing renovation and new construction. Not eligible under this RFP are projects that are currently under construction, and this was something that came out of council conversations over the last RFP. An acquisition renovation. We have an open NOAA RFP that addresses these. So if you have a NOAA project that you're interested in, please take a look at the NOAA RFP, and please email me any questions you have about that. And then just as a catch-all, any project outside the scope of the RFP. So if it's not specifically listed in the RFP, it's probably not eligible. But if you have something that you think is eligible, but you don't see it in the RFP, would you please email me and let me know so I can give you an answer on that? And you don't do a lot of work to submit a proposal that will end up deeming ineligible. So multifamily housing development. Many of you on this call are multifamily housing developers. This is probably what you're interested in. Not a lot on this slide has changed. We work with for-profit and nonprofit developers. We offer flexible funding structures. But council does require that 20% of the units be targeted at 30% or below AMI. That is a long-term item that we've had for several years and has not changed. Typical financing structure, it's soft financing. One change is that we're requiring a minimum of a 40-year affordability. Most of you are already meeting this requirement, and it was a preference in past RFPs, but because so many people are able to bring a 40-year commitment to the table, we just moved it into a requirement for this request for proposals. Minimum debt coverage ratio hasn't changed. It's a 1.15. And then these loans are going to be cash flow contingent loans. Single family. The funding can be provided as a construction subsidy or down payment assistance. It must have an affordability period of no longer or no shorter than 15 years, but we're looking for longer periods of of affordability. We encourage land trust and shared equity models that can extend affordability. And there's a lot of interest around seeing if our single family developers can provide any type of ADU programming. It's something that the city has been looking at for some time, and it's also something that you'll notice in the UDO. The restrictions on ADU development were broadened so that it will be easier for developers to provide ADUs as part of their development in the future. Supportive housing is also an eligible activity under this RFP. We're looking for projects that meet the need of a COC recognized housing need. Those include homelessness, mental health, justice involvement. That's not the entire list. If you're looking to do a supportive housing project and you have a question around eligibility, please let me know. When we underwrite these projects, we're looking at both the housing and the services to make sure that they're sufficient to stabilize the targeted population. These projects do need to be owned and operated by nonprofit organizations, and a minimum leverage requirement for receiving funding in this category is 1 to 2, and we do look for higher leverage ratios here. Funding sources. You all are very familiar with the Housing Trust Fund. Also included in this RFP is the possibility of receiving CDBG funding, home funding, and HOPWA funding. And you can see more about that in the RFP. If you're able to receive this type of funding and want to request it, you can check that in the application. It is one of the preferences, and so it will reflect in the ranking of your application. And then I've had questions about, well, if I check that, then what funding will I receive? Well, we will work with you. We will not assign funding to you that we haven't discussed with you, and you understand the implications of receiving that funding. But because each of your development is unique and each of these funding types is unique, that'll be a conversation that we have once we receive those applications. And if you have any questions about these funding types and what their implications are, you can please reach out to me directly and we can have a conversation about that. Something new that I've received several questions about is this local rental subsidy pilot program. The city and the county are continuing to look for ways that we can better partner together on projects. And so this is a first stab at extending the rental subsidy that we do with NOAA projects to see if it may work in other types of situations. Here we're really looking at the multifamily new construction projects. This will be over and above commitments that you commit to in your proposal. I've had several requests about, well, I need to know more about this because I need to know how to underwrite it. That's not what we're looking for here. We want you to underwrite the projects that you're proposing based on the funding sources that you see eligible above, not on a rental subsidy pilot. If you check that you're interested in this, what it would do is perhaps create an opportunity for further subsidizing the development. So say you have 20 units of 30%, we may come to you and work with you on this subsidy to see if we can create 10 more units at 30% over and above what you're already committing. We're doing it this way because we've never tried this before, and so we really need to get both the city and county on the same page and come up with projects that are interested in pursuing this so that we can pilot this approach here with the goal of in the future having it as an underwritable funding option for you moving forward. We're not there yet. This is just our first dipping our toe in the pool to see if we can do it. So if you're interested in that and you have more questions, you can reach out reach out to me, but we're not going to be able to give you lots of answers because we're basically going to build this bike as we're writing it. So we're just looking for people who may be interested in being a guinea pig with us to see if we could bring something to council that's new and innovative and increases affordability in the community. So I've got 2 slides here about things that have changed through the RFP process. The first one is really some that came from the last RFP. So this is really a slide that I pulled from the last RFP, and the next one is some more new stuff. But in case you weren't on the last call or you didn't participate in the last round, we've moved to a 2-tier review process. You'll see under review, and this is really focused on the multifamily new construction and renovation projects, that to get reviewed in the first round, you've got to meet a tier 1 requirement. So there's some funding limits, and those have been slightly increased in this round. If you have to request more than those funding limits, but you're willing to accept some or all of the award in one of the federal funding sources, if you select that would get you into tier 1. If you're applying for RPP funding, that will also get you into tier 1. Or if you're proposing a project that's in District 6 or 7, that will also get you into tier 1. So those projects will be reviewed first. And then projects that don't meet any of those requirements would then be reviewed in a second round of reviews. And then the project types, again, are reviewed separately. So we separate out the applications for multifamily new construction, for supportive housing, and for single family. And those are reviewed and recommended independently from one another. So what's new? There are some new things, and again, I appreciate not only are we transitioning staff, but I basically rewrote a lot of the sections of the RFP to try to bring it in line with RFPs that are put out by the rest of the city to make it kind of look like other things that we do. So many of you have pointed out some discrepancies in the document that I'm working on and fixing, and a lot of it is minor. So if you have any questions about the RFP itself, please send those to me, but also know that an updated copy correcting some of those inconsistencies is in development, and I'll have it posted. So I'm going to show you two new documents, and again, some of this goes to our commitment to try to streamline the process. Hopefully, some of the work that we're doing, you'll find helpful in terms of lowering the amount of time that you have to put into preparing a submittal for us. So I'm going to show you those two new documents here in a second. There are increased CBI requirements. So this is a council directive, and they want to see more minority and disadvantaged business participation. So please take a look at that. It's not much higher than it's been in the past, but several of our council people are very serious about the inclusion of disadvantaged businesses in the development of affordable housing. So please note that section. There's some additional city preferences that we're rolling out. One is this concept of team force housing, and then we're also asking for looking at longer affordability periods into perpetual affordability. Those aren't requirements, but your application will fare well the longer of affordability period that you can propose. And we've also updated the geographies. You'll notice that one thing that's much different about this RFP is that you can actually apply for funding outside of the city limits. If you do so, that will most likely be home fund, so be aware of that. Funding sources such as CDBG and the Housing Trust Fund are legally required to be spent inside the city limits, but home funds are actually county-wide. So this is another way that the city and the county are trying to partner together and recognize that affordable housing is not a City of Charlotte issue, but it's actually a regional issue that we need regional solutions for. And then there's also some preferences for using the UDO. The UDO was passed this last council session and went active in June. So there are some benefits there. If you have questions about that, you can reach out to me. I can provide you a draft manual. I don't know if that manual is yet posted to the website, but there's a draft manual on how you request the UDO bonuses, what you have to provide, and the benefits that you receive. Some of that is much more focused towards market rate developers, asking them to add a little affordable to their projects, but there are several provisions in there that are actually specifically targeted towards affordable housing developers, and that we hope to provide some benefit to you going forward. So the two of the bigger changes, and you'll see in the RFP, I took a clip from our website, are these two documents. One called the application, which is a Word document, and the other one that is called a data sheet, which is an Excel document. And we're asking that you return the Excel document to us in an Excel format, and you can return the Word document to us in a Word document or a PDF. I think that the RFP says to go ahead and convert it over into a PDF. I am going to try to show you these documents, so please bear with me if this works. And then Kate, would you just give me a thumbs up that I got stuff to come up on the screen? So hopefully now you can see
It's there, yeah.
A Word document. Thank you, Kate. And what we're asking you to do, and what you'll find in this Word document, is a lot of the questions that we've always asked you, and we're just asking you to fill in the highlighted blue areas with your responses. You can type as much as you want. You can answer question 10. It looks like that we have 2 question 10, so I'll fix that. You can answer question 10 in a paragraph, or you can take 3 pages. Just allow the document to continue to scroll down. Hopefully this will help you, because we're going to try to make as little changes to this document in the future. So our hope is that you'll be able to pull it from one document to another, and if you answer it one time and nothing changes, that you can just cut and paste your answer, and we'll receive it again. You will also see in the future that if you apply for a project in one funding round and we ask you for documents that don't change going into the next funding round, we'll allow you to tell us that those documents didn't change, and we can pull it from your previous application so you don't have to submit it again. So hopefully that will help in terms of streamlining our application process. So all we're doing here is asking you to answer these questions. Don't change the formatting, just answer right in these boxes. And that'll just allow us to answer these questions or respond to you more quickly, and hopefully get our staff more quickly reviewing your projects. Same with the Excel document. And then as you're doing this, if you find errors, please, I know there's errors in these documents. So please let me know. And if you have any questions on how you should answer some of these questions, you can also reach out as well. One of the challenges that we're working through is we think it's very beneficial to do a very broad RFP, so that various types of projects can all apply and come in at the same time, and council can review them all at the same time. But we also know that applying for a supportive housing project is very different than applying for a multifamily housing project, is very different than applying for a single family housing project. So please offer me any feedback that you have on these documents. It will always be appreciated, and we'll do our best to make updates and get them back to you so that the documents work even better the next time that you receive them. I think that that's all that we have here. This booklet is just for supportive housing and for multifamily housing. There is another booklet, Excel workbook for single family housing. So if you're proposing a single family housing project, you won't be proposing using what I have up on the screen right now. You'll be using the document called Single Family Workbook for the summer of 24. So I'm going to stop sharing this and try to get back over to our presentation. So before I open it up for questions, and you can enter those questions in the chat, or you can come off mute. I actually rearranged and I saved introductions till the end. I think everyone knows me. My name is Warren Wooten. I'm the Assistant Director for Affordable Housing for the City of Charlotte. I've been with the city for about 10 years. My information is up on the website. Some of you have commented that I stopped answering the phone. That's because we have been displaced out of our offices for several months. I now have that fixed. So I now have this phone number with me when I'm at work, and you can reach me at this number, and my email address has not changed. But I am very elated and relieved to introduce Michael Engelhart. Michael is on day 3 as our new Housing Trust Fund manager. So I very thankfully have also put his name and contact information up on the site. Michael and I will be tag teaming this round, but when it comes to the next round and also closing, Michael will be your point of contact with the city. Michael comes to us from Enlivian, where he was one of their senior development managers, and before that he has both experience in the nonprofit development space and also in higher education. So we're very excited. I think no one more than me to have Michael with us. And I don't know that we've even gotten him a headset yet. So Michael, if you can come off mute and say hello, please do so. And if not, don't worry about it, because I know that we were looking for a headset for you yesterday.
No, I appreciate that, Warren, and thanks for being here today, everybody. It's a real honor to step into this role and take over for someone as monumental as Zelica. So I'm well aware of how big the shoes are that I have to fill. But yeah, I'm really excited to work with all of you, and I apologize that my camera's not working. I will figure that out on day 4, I hope.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. All right. I know that there's questions because I have received lots of emails. So I've answered some of your questions, but this is now the time where you're able to either come off mute or put a question into the chat, and I will do my best to answer it or tell you that I don't know, and I'll get you an answer and post that to the website. So if you have a question, please come off mute. I'll give folks a minute or two to start doing that, and then if no one has any questions, we will end the webinar. So, shoot, what questions do you have?
Hey Warren, this is Robin Haddock. I have a
Robin.
follow-up question to something I emailed you earlier, but on the outreach and marketing plan, I know that's a separate plan about how you're going to reach out to potential residents and applicants once the property is built. But is that a separate document, or is that just responding to that question under the property management section in the Word application form?
We would, when you get monitored after it's built, our team will ask you for an outreach and marketing plan. So it could be the same information, but we're going to want you to attach that as a separate document. And I do, and I'll expand on that a little bit. I've recognized that in the RFP, there is some confusion because I made it confusing between your outreach efforts for communicating to the community that you're proposing the development, and then your outreach efforts for renting out or utilizing the development that you build. Those are two separate and distinct documents that require two separate and distinct responses. And in an effort to be as brief as possible, I think I conflated that in one area of the RFP. So we are expecting two things: one, for you to respond to the outreach efforts, which is one community meeting with some advertising requirements using some city resources that you can access online, and then your standard outreach and marketing plan. And I believe that if you're proposing a a tax credit related project, that's a requirement that you're going to pull over from there anyways. But thank you, Robin. That's a good clarification, a good question. Any other questions? All right. Well, that means I either did an excellent job or a terrible job, and I'm going to be positive this morning and say that that the new RFP has been well received and everyone is working through it as well as they can. Both Michael and I are available. You have our email addresses and our phone numbers up on the website, so please go ahead and take a picture of that. And then again, this webinar will be posted, if not later on today, tomorrow, and we will circulate it once it's posted. So again, I thank everyone for attending. I do realize it was a short notice on this one, and we are going to post it to the website. And with Michael on board, we're going to have some really well-planned rounds in the future, and I'm really looking forward to it. I believe that we have a lot of potential in this city, and that with your help, we're going to have some great affordable housing assets coming off the ground due to the work that we're doing today. So thanks again for everyone attending. Appreciate your time and look forward to hearing from you and receiving your proposals.